Paris that the institution of Madame Millard was managed upon what is vulgar termed the system of soothing, that all punishments were avoided, that even confinement was seldom resorted to, that the patients, while secretly watched, were left much apparent liberty, and most of them were permitted to roam around the house and grounds in ordinary dress of the same people.
Please, come in.
Thank you for allowing me to observe your establishment. If I may ask some questions, while your former system was in operation, would that be the soothing system, which I have heard so much?
It is now for several weeks since we have concluded to pronounce it forever. The system of soothing was dangerous to the patients and any visitors, the reason you could not have visited before now. It meant that a patient, for example, that believed he was a chicken would be treated as a chicken and allowed him to roam free as a chicken.
May I see the new system in action? Where are the patients?
No, I'm sorry to say. The patients are often shocking exhibitions to those who are not used to their actions, and I do not wish to spoil your appetite. Dinner is served soon. Music.
You know, back when the system of soothing was in use, there was one lunatic who believed he was a teapot and polished himself every day without fail. I also remember another madwoman who believed she was a Cordova cheese and went about with a knife in her hand, trying to get her friends to try a small slice from the middle of her leg.
Do you recall that one fellow who thought he was a bottle of champagne? He was constantly making popping and fizzing sounds around all day.
Oh yes, and that one man who mistook himself for a frog, which he resembled in no little degree, I might add.
One of my favorites was the one that thought he was a pinch of snuff and was truly distressed because he could not snort himself.
What about the lunatic that believed he was a pumpkin and kept badgering the cook when he didn't allow him to bake himself into a pie?
Madame Joyeuse was a more sensible person, as you know. She found upon mature deliberation that by some accident she had been turned into a rooster and gave a cock-a-doodle-doo all day like this. Bra, bra, bra.
Oh, Madame Joyeuse was a fool, but there was really much sound, since after all, in the opinion of Eugenie Salsifet, she was a very beautiful and painfully modest young lady who thought the ordinary mode of a Bilibin incident and wished to dress herself always by getting outside instead of inside of her clothes. It's a thing very easily done after all.
No.
Oh my God, stop!
There. And then to a small outburst. Nothing more.
She's a bit touched in the head, correct? Along with the woman who gave out cock-a-doodle-doo earlier.
Oh, we here merely enjoy life. Miss Salsifet and Miss Joyce are as sane as I am.
Yes, but they do act a bit odd, don't you agree?
Why, of course not. We're not as prudish as in the South, you know. We do more as we please. That sort of thing.
Well, yes, I suppose I understand. By the way, madam, did you mention earlier that the system which took place of the system of soothing was very severe in comparison?
Oh, by no means. The confinement is tight, yes, and quite necessary. However, the patients find it agreeable and beneficial on the whole.
Is this new system created by you?
Not completely. Some aspects are taken from Professor Tarr, who I'm sure you've heard of, and other portions are from the celebrated Dr. Feather, who I believe you've met before.
I can't say that I've heard of either of them.
Well, I'm shocked to hear of your ignorance. Nevertheless, let's share some more wine and enjoy the evening.
Now, you mentioned the issue with the past system of soothing. What were they?
Yes, many dangers came with that system. Patients can be soothed only for a time, when then they begin to feel too much freedom and revolt. For they are more cunning, more full of wisdom and dexterity than any of their physicians.
Did you ever have a time here where those dangers came into effect?
Why, yes, actually. In this hospital not too long ago, before the new system was put in place, the patients had come up with a devilish scheme without the keepers knowing. Then one morning, the entire staff found themselves tied up and thrown into the patient's cells, where the lunatics had taken each of their positions.
That's terrible. How? Did they succeed?
Oh yes, they most certainly did. The most cunning of them, no doubt, had conspired to create a better, lunatic system of government here, and gathered the others to join them. They didn't allow for any visitors, out of worry they'd call the authorities.
How long did this rebellion last?
About a month, I'd say. They raided the family jewels and clothing, and then ransacked the wine cellar. A madman is not necessarily a fool, and in my opinion, their method of treatment was better than what it superseded.
The lunatics have surely escaped.
Yes, I fear they have.
Alright, so during my beating and eventual escape, I realized the terrible truth of the situation. Madame Millard, in telling me the rebellion of lunatics, had been referring to herself and the guests each referring to each other and themselves.
Do you want some cheese?
Madam had truthfully been the superintendent of the institution, but became insane and then was treated as a patient. The keepers had been overpowered by these maniacs, led by Millard, thrown into cells, tarred and feathered, as the new system of Dr. Tarr and Professor Feather, and held there for a month.
It burns!
As I sat with these madmen, the true physicians had escaped and attempted to gain entry back into the room we sat.